What's up, everybody? I'm Chase Brogan, and with me, as always, Marcus Buff Bagwell. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Marcus?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing fantastic. It's cold here.
It's cold here too. It's cold for sure.
It's
We were,
always cold where you're at,
yeah, I mean, compared to where you are, but I was
right?
surprised. We were in North Carolina last week. I thought I was going into warm weather. It was actually colder when I landed than when I took off. So
Wow.
yeah, I thought I was going to get a little break from the cold, but it didn't pan out that way.
No,
It was brutal down there. Actually, it's like
for some
20s.
reason it's for, and that's not, I don't ever remember many things as far as a year goes by with weather because it's too hard to keep up with. But I can tell you that last year WrestleCade was freezing. And one reason I
Really?
remember is because the hotel to the convention center, we walked to it because we stayed at the hotel.
Okay.
It was barely tolerable to walk it.
Wow. Yeah, I was surprised. Maybe it's something about that week every year. I don't know what it is, but we hear a lot about global warming. I feel like it's getting colder lately.
Yeah, right. That's what I
Seems
never.
seems to be going the wrong way, the wrong
It
direction.
it definitely seems to be going the wrong way.
All right, now welcome everybody that's in here. We've got a bunch of people asking questions already. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be our last show before Christmas. So we wanted to do a holiday giveaway. We're giving away this signed pillow buddy right here. When we got together back in Waterbury, he signed this for you guys. So we've got that. We've got a bunch of cards. We're going to be doing some random giveaways, and then we'll finish everything out at the end with the pillow buddy.
I love
So
it.
ask some great questions tonight, guys, and we'll reward you guys with some cool stuff.
Yes.
So let's dive into the chat here. And Mark, just pull up the comments tab on your end if you can. If you can't, I'll just pull it up on screen too. So it's not a big deal there.
Okay.
Here's a good one that we haven't touched. And I try to pull up questions, guys, that we don't get, because obviously there's a lot of questions that come in week after week that are, along the same lines. This one's different though. What was it like working with Bill Watts? I know you were close friends with Bill. So what was that like?
Well, first, let me tell you the very first question we've received may be the winner of the Pillow Buddy.
All right. Excellent.
Wow, what a great question. Bill
It's a different one.
Watts.
It's a different one. We haven't seen this one before.
It's almost like somebody from the business asked it. That's a really great question, and it is rare. It's a rare question, and it's very different for us. What was it like working for Bill Watts? Let me tell you, the only reason that I know what it's like working for Bill Watts is because I was friends with his son, Eric Watts. If it was not for that, I would have been fired instantly. Everything Bill Watts felt about pro wrestling, Marcus Alexander Bagwell did not fit. One of the first encounters I had with Cowboy Bill Watts was I broke my nose in a Kevin Nash match. And we were really working hard during this time. It was when Bill came in, he had he ran it like it should have been ran, but it was hard. He ran it with nobody said at home. If you were off the booking sheet, you were off. Well, during that time, you wasn't off. There was an A team and a B team, and I think we even had a C team. So you were never off. If you were under contract and you were getting paid, you were working. And it was real busy, man. We were like really, really busy. And keep in mind, this is before Nitro. This is before NWO. We're not over by no means. We're not doing good ratings. We're doing decent ratings, and we're drawing a decent crowd, but not enough to pay Marcus Alexander Bagwell $100,000 a year and other guys a bunch more money than that. We weren't making that kind of money. So I break my nose and I go to the WCW doctor, and he tells me to take 2 weeks off. I was excited to take 2 weeks off since our doctor told me to, and I thought, good, my nose is broke, I'm gonna rest my nose. He sends me a letter that I have somewhere, I don't know where exactly, but he dogs me out so bad. He goes, "You pansy, you softy," all the ugly words to softy.
Yep.
And you got to be kidding me. He goes, you stripper, you stripper, once you go back to stripping, this is professional wrestling, you pansy. Your poor little nose. I mean, just rips me apart, bro.
Wow.
Well, the next day I called back and went back on the road because it just hurt me. It was true. I'm a pro athlete, and why am I sitting at home with a broke nose? It was kind of silly, but I was only 21 or 22 years old. I didn't really know. My daughter told me to take it off. I took it off. It's their doctor. But man, I got ripped apart. Bill brought a lot of good things to the company, and he brought a lot of negative things. But he brought back the top rope. The top rope was disqualification. He pulled the pads off the floors. Guys started getting hurt. He took away draws, and man, I thought it was great he did that. But at first I was mad about it because I would get a draw on the road, and you get a $100, $300, $500 draw. So you had cash on the road. But when you got your check, it was gone. And you were like, where'd my money go? And they would show you where you took draws out. And it was like, what? So he stopped draws, which I thought was great. The top rope thing I didn't agree with, and the pads pulling them up. He tried to make wrestling real, and I think it was just it wasn't possible. It wasn't, but I mean, like, he flew the heels on one plane, the baby faces on the other. If you were caught talking in an angle or not an angle, you were fired on the spot. And again, I would have never survived any of this if me and Eric wasn't best friends. I really think. I mean, he got to know me with Eric being my friend, and Bill ended up liking me, but he would have never got a chance to even know the young pretty boy that broke his nose unless I was friends with Eric. So, real tough guy, literally tough, strong boss, but I heard several rumors about he did a lot of crazy stuff in the office, and the office was kind of a madhouse. And, Bischoff came in right behind that and did a great job. But I was scared of Bill, and most guys were. So I think he made a good boss, but he was maybe a little too strong, I think, for that corporate spot. But for me, it was a overall thumbs up working for Bill Watts, but he was tough.
Well, that was the second part of the question that I overlooked there, and it was, I heard he can be difficult, and it seems like he definitely was difficult. Sounds like he was old school too.
Just,
if he was,
I wouldn't say difficult. It was just, he was very old school. It was
Gotcha.
what it was. Like with me, he was like, he compared everything to Dr. Death Steve Williams. Okay. If you didn't fit the mold of a Dr. Death Steve Williams, then you wasn't a pro wrestler.
Gotcha.
So, the days of like Rey Mysterio, little bitty guys that were good, that would have never happened if Bill Watts was in business, was in charge. It just wouldn't have happened. He was, I said, I'm not sure if the word's difficult or just old school.
Old school. Yeah. I mean, old school can be difficult if you're new school, right? So that makes sense.
So I really believe it's more that. It was just more,
sure.
Like I said, there's a lot of good things he brought. I love the draws. He put cycles in the contracts, which a lot of guys hated. But again, I think there should be cycles in NFL contracts and major league contracts. These guys are making way too much money, way too much. You give them $20 million, but then there's got to be a point where it's incentive based.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If it's not incentive based, who cares? They go home to their big house and they're going to be rich for the rest of their lives. If you make an error, you take money away. If you get a home run, you make money. If you throw an interception, you lose money. If you throw a touchdown, you make money. You make it incentive based contracts. We know they're phenomenal athletes. So after you make them a certain level of millionaire, after that, it needs to be incentive based, and wrestling was incentive based. If you got hurt, if you wasn't back within 3 months, it was a pay cut. 6 months, a bigger pay cut. If you wasn't back within a year, you got fired. So, that makes you, hey, my knee's feeling much better, instead of those guys just laying around,
For
it's just
sure.
what it is. It is what it is. But he put cycles in our contracts, and it was, I think, a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to get the best out of people if there's an incentive involved. If
Sure.
you can stay home and still collect that same check, I mean, everybody's going to milk everything as long as
Sure.
they can, right? I mean,
Sure.
I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I
I don't know.
lost you though.
I know it dropped me out there. I was like, what is this? It's screen went black there. All right. At least I'm back though. All right.
Yes.
So you mentioned there that you broke your nose with Kevin Nash, and I got to shamelessly plug our video about Kevin Nash. We actually have a little clip of you having your nose broken by Kevin in that video. So for anybody that hasn't seen that, check out that video and you can see Marcus Bagwell getting his nose broke by Kevin Nash. And
Yes.
was that
Yes.
when he was Vinny Vegas, I believe, right?
Vinny Vegas for
Vinny
sure.
Vegas. Right.
Yep. Kevin was a great wrestler, especially to be as tall as he was. And we had several good matches. We were friends, though. We were good friends, and so we helped each other to make it a good match. But when we went to the finish room, and they told me I was beating Kevin Nash, I'm like, what are y'all doing? But it was the time. It was, Marcus
Right.
Alexander Bagwell was making a name for himself, and Kevin did the job without complaining. And I think I paid him right back in a couple of weeks. It's just good TV.
Yeah. The follow-up match, you had the bandage over your nose. So yeah. Yep. And I think he won that one. I think he won the first one, or it could have been vice versa. I forget what it
Yeah.
was, but yeah. Was he Vinny Vegas before Oz, or was it Oz first? I always get those two mixed up.
Oz was first
Oz
because
was first.
I never saw Oz.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't around him with Oz, so I was either just coming in and hadn't
Got it.
quite got in yet, but he was the Master Blaster.
Master Blaster, like the road, not Road Warriors, kind of
Yeah,
like the
Road
Mel Gibson.
Warriors.
Okay, was similar to that, yeah.
Yeah, like Road Warriors,
I,
just
I
like
was
Road
thinking
Warriors.
like he almost like a Mad Max character, like
Yeah,
Mel.
Mad Max. But
Yep,
in the
yep,
movie Road
right,
Warriors, he was Mad
right,
Max,
right.
and he was the Mad Max dude, and
Sure.
great gimmick, big muscled up biker looking dude, and him and Al Green. I can't remember what their team was, but he was the Master Blaster.
Yep.
But then after that, it was Vinny. I mean, it was the Oz thing, where looking like Sting, and then he was Vinny Vegas.
Yeah, I always liked Vinny Vegas, and then he went on to Diesel over at WWF, came back as Kevin Nash, and I think that
Yes,
was probably the best version of him was Kevin Nash, himself at the end.
no doubt.
All right, so let's jump into another question. I saw one, I think it was the first one, and this came in. Let's see, try to find the first question. It's not showing up anymore. All right, we'll get back to it, but let's go to this one right here. Tommy B's family wants to wish you a happy holidays. We love your live streams. Please call out Ashley B on her 40th birthday.
Hey, Ashley B, happy 40th birthday. I am buff, but you are the stuff. I like it. Happy birthday, baby.
Love it. Is it true Eric Watts beat up Rick Rude?
Absolutely not. Rick Rude may be one of the toughest guys I've ever seen. I've never even heard that rumor. So
Really?
I don't know much about it. I'm going to call Eric Watts tomorrow and find out about the fight even, but I can tell you that no, he did not. Rick Rude was one of the toughest guys I know. And Eric Watts is a tall, big, tough guy. And if it was a wrestling match, maybe not pro wrestling match, but if it was a mat wrestling event, Greco-Roman wrestling, Eric Watts beat his brains out. But if it was a fist fight, no. Rick Rude was an animal, and again, Eric can hold his own for sure. But I never even heard that rumor. But my bet would be Eric Watts would bet on Rick Rude.
Makes sense. Yeah, he seemed like a tough guy to say the least. Rick Rude would scare me for sure. And from Cosmic Chris here. What's up, Marcus? I'm a huge Wolfpack fan. How cool was the entrance with the whole NWO and all the Hells Angels? Greatest entrance in history.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Ironically, if you go back and look at that video, can we get a year on that, Chase?
I can try to find a year on that. Let's see.
Knoxville, Tennessee, Nitro.
Okay.
And it had to be, God,
let's see. Looks like 99.
Okay, that's perfect. So, 98, Buff Bagwell breaks his neck, April 22nd, 98. 10 months later, Buff Bagwell comes back shredded and in the best shape of my life. How many months is April till what you're talking?
What did I say? January? Yeah, January 11th. So that would be April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 9 months.
Pretty close, huh?
Pretty close.
I was freaky that night. Freaky. I showed up and nobody had really seen me yet. And I'd done my 0 carbs that week and nobody had seen me yet. I had a brand new pair of black overalls on with a red Wolfpack on. I had the Wolfpack hat and everything. And brother, when I took my shirt off backstage, everybody was like, "Oh my God, what have you done? What are you doing? How did you do it?" And the rumors started flying. Oh, Bagwell's on growth, and none of it was true. Bagwell learned how to get his butt on a Stairmaster and knew how to do that properly. And buddy, I was dialed in, and it just so happens that I was dialed in that night perfectly. And man, I was freaky, brother, freaky. And I remember coming out with those overalls on, and I wanted to take them off so bad because I'm so lean under there.
Right.
I wore them anyway, and you can see how jacked I was. It was incredible. Yeah. But it was a really good night for the NWO and all those bikers. And I mean, literally, when you reminded me here with Cosmic Chris, and he reminded me of this, I remembered all of this instantly. I even remember the last piece of what you would do to carb load to look the way I looked that night. Was the final piece of it was 1 apple pie an hour before the show. I ate that apple pie and you sip on water. And when I took my shirt off, everybody was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm great." It was nuts. But yeah, I remember that very vividly. It was the coolest entrance ever. I'm talking about, these are the throat cut killer, biker gang of the world, with the Hells Angels. The leaders of the Hells Angels was Hogan's buddies, and to come out with them guys in Knoxville, it was one of the coolest things ever.
That's awesome. And this was, I think, before the top hat too, because if I remember correctly, I think you had the hat like you have on right now, backwards hat, and then it was the overalls with the Wolfpack colors.
Sometimes, I don't know, I get kind of weirded out or forget about the top hat a lot too, because it definitely wasn't. It definitely had came before then, because I've got an 8x10 shot of me in those black overalls with my top hat on, and I can tell my shoulders are capped. I'm thick and I'm lean. It's the biggest, leanest I ever was, and I got a top hat on. So sometimes I don't think I wore it out. Sometimes I would do the do-rag sometimes. I think it's what I got on. I think that's a do-rag.
Okay.
Because the ball cap didn't come till later on. It was do-rag or top hat.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would pull up the clip here, but we'll get flagged by WWE for trademark, so I'll avoid that for right now. But when we edit the segment back later on, then I'll try to throw a little clip in there.
Cool.
All right. So what else we have here? From Shaw Dog here. Did you see Survivor Series? Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax did a blockbuster and Samoan drop combo, and Corey Graves called it as such. Cool to hear.
Oh, that is, I did not see it, and that is great. I'm so glad they did. I love seeing the blockbuster. To see something that I created is a lot of fun. Again, I completely, it feels good to say something that's 100% the truth. I mean, nobody showed me how to do that. I mean, I created it. I thought about it. Scotty Riggs helped me, walk it through in the hotel room that night. But the whole thing came from me loving Rick Rude. I was a Rick Rude fan, and I wanted to. For some reason, my idea was, Rick wasn't around anymore, so let's do the Rude Awakening. But I wanted to make it my Rude Awakening, So I went off the rope neck breaker, and I saw a match of the night where I hit disco with the blockbuster from the ground.
Really?
A running,
pull that up.
like doing a sunset flip.
Sure.
I jumped and we did a blockbuster in midair from the ground, and it was Disco's idea.
Wow. I'm gonna have to pull up that clip then. All right. So let's jump into the next one. Actually, Mark, I'm going to so you're I think we forgot to switch your Wi-Fi over. So if you could go on your phone, you can actually swipe this away and just switch off of the Wi-Fi because it's doing that thing where it pixelates.
Okay, so hold on, do this for a minute. So
yep.
Go to settings.
Yes, on your phone, and then just disengage that Wi-Fi. I think it'll be like, should be like blue on there. And then I think it'll,
oh boy,
let me see how it looks. Yeah, so go to your Wi-Fi, and then, yeah, so it'll be lit up as green. If you just tap that, it'll take Wi-Fi off.
Green says CarPlay.
It should be under your Wi-Fi setting. I would think CarPlay might be Bluetooth.
I'm under settings, and I don't have a Wi-Fi area. This says transfer TV provider, language, keyboard, fonts, dictionary, date and time, background app.
Should be the second option down under like your name on settings. So you should have airplane mode and then right below it.
Okay, so now I got Wi-Fi. So Stacy Morningside Drive. Click that.
Yeah, so right above that it'll say Wi-Fi. You should have like a little like toggle switch. Just tap that toggle switch.
Okay. That's airplane mode.
So it's one option down from airplane. Yeah, so click on, like you said, your Wi-Fi name, and then in that screen you'll be able to shut it off.
Shut it off.
Yep.
Did that do it?
You'll have to go back to the StreamYard in your browser now. And I'm sure it probably did that as long as you disengaged it.
Okay.
Perfect. There we go. Much better.
Is that better?
Yeah, it was looking good in the beginning, so I didn't even think anything of it. And then it just at the end there started to get pixelated. So we are good. All right. Thanks for bearing with us, guys, for the technical difficulties, but much smoother now. All right. Next question here. From Instagram, a wrestling historian. How would you have ended the NWO storyline? Love that question. That's a good one.
Wow, that is a good one. How would I have ended it? Well, the answer is I wouldn't have ever ended it. I would have kept it going forever, and you could have. The NWO, I really believe the mistake was going to the red and black. But you go with red and black, and you have an absolute red and black team, and you have an absolute black and white. I mean, red and black, and you have an absolute black and white team. You have two teams. It's not an A and a B team. It's the NWO black and white, and it's the NWO red and black, and they go back and forth, but they're against each other or whatever. You make it some kind of battle of the black and white versus the red and black, and that's what I would have done with it. It got watered down too soon. We try to start fixing the water down, and we got that. We did that well, but when we came out with the red and black, that was to be like the ultimate. That was going to be like the best of the NWO. But really, Hogan still wore his black and white and stuff. So nobody really knew who was what. And
they jumped back and forth a lot. Yeah, it was tough to determine who was who. Yeah,
it was tough to navigate. And so, but yeah, so I would never have ended it. I would figure out a way just to keep making it better and better. and you add people, you take people out, I mean, that was such a great storyline. You could have done it for the rest of our lives. It's just a matter of handling it the right way. I think if WCW would have continued, it would have been handled differently, and it would have been handled where it would have worked for a long, long time.
For sure. I agree. And let's jump in here to from Brendan here. It's Buffhausen. I love that Danhausen interview. Keep up the great work, Buff. That was a fun one. I really enjoyed that interview with Danhausen.
Yeah, he was great. He was really good on everything he did, and I've never really known about his character and stuff. And when he asked, hey, can I do it in character? I said, sure, let's do it. And then when he took the hat, he took my hat and all that, it was good stuff.
For sure. Yeah. And he actually put it into his video too on his YouTube channel. He did a WrestleCade video where he kind of did little segments with different people. So that whole segment that you just described is in his video. So for everybody out there, check out, I believe it's, I'll have to look up his channel name. I don't want to get it wrong, but Danhausen has a great YouTube channel. And let me see what it's called here. Love that Danhausen. So check out his channel, and you can see that WrestleCade video where Buff has a little segment in there. But yeah, he's certainly a character.
Oh, he is, no doubt.
And Erica here. Hi, Buff Daddy. Cole down here in Georgia. What do you have to do to get? You got to ask a good question, Dusty Barton. He said, "What's up, Buff? What I got to do to get that pillow buddy, brother?"
And you got to ask a real good one. Right now, the best question is Cowboy Bill Watts.
Absolutely. And that is our first question that we pulled up on screen tonight. So let's see what else we have here, though, because we might see that get topped here. What was the most challenging aspect of your wrestling career? This is another good question.
It's a great question. It's in the top 5 here. So we got what's and challenge. So that's a great question. So I don't think challenge. Man, there's so many challenges to becoming a professional wrestler, to becoming anything at the top of this game. There's so many challenges, but I really believe there's no doubt which one was my biggest. And that would have been April 22nd, 1998, when I broke my neck in Columbia, South Carolina. I sit here in front of you right now, even speaking, really trying to go back to April 22nd, 1998, laying in that ring, looking up, and there being 60,000 people in the room with me, and me not hearing nothing. And all I can feel and know is that my life is over. I am going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. It's over. There is no light. There's no hope. I'm just laying there and I'm thinking, and at the time I was really big with, I stayed close to God, but at this time I was really going to church and doing the right thing. And I remember it's a bad thing to ask God why. I heard a sermon about that. So the first thing that hit me was I wanted to say, God, why did this happen? But something told me not to ask God why. So I said, is this really the plan you had for me? And when I said that, I just thinking, is this really the plan you had? And as I was talking to Norton out there and everything, and just he's trying to get the thing undone. I'm still trying to get my bearings, but there's zero hope. There's such little hope that out of my mouth came, I can go to schools like Christopher Reeves, and I can visit and talk to schools and tell them about my experiences and stuff. And as I said that, I swear to Christ that Danny Young, our trainer, goes, your left hand is moving. Now, I didn't have time to process this then, but I got time to process it now. I really believe that me having a positive attitude at the most devastating, depressing thing of my life is what saved my life. I was positive enough to come out of being paralyzed to saying I can go to schools and talk to kids at schools. I really believe that my being positive right there is what saved my life. But what was facing me with a 50-pound weight loss, food poisoning, 3 surgeries, nobody knows this part of the story. All of those things I just said, nobody knows. Nobody knows that I went around with a 90cc goiter on my throat like a softball, and nobody knew what it was. I was wearing shirts that hid it. So I'm 50 pounds light, and I got a goiter on my throat. You're talking about challenges, bro. I didn't know what to do. And finally, the goiter, just one day after all kind of tests, and we were going to have to go back in surgically and fix it, it just opened up, and 90 cc's of red gunk came out of this goiter, and it was gone. But again, the challenges and then 2 of the 3 doctors told me to quit. You can't ever wrestle again, brother. You got a fused neck. You got 8 screws and 2 plates in your neck, you idiot. You can't wrestle. And then the 3rd doctor was a woman, and she told me to never take a shower again or wrestle. And I was like, I get it. So she said I could fall in a shower, I could walk across the street and get hit. So I liked the way she explained it. Right. And I stayed in the business, and it was a very hard, challenging thing. So forget I was paralyzed in the ring. Forget they asked me to do the same move again, my first match back. Forget all that.
With the same guy, too, that broke your neck.
Yeah. I got to gain 50 pounds back.
Right.
Brother, I couldn't touch a weight for 3 months. He begged me to not touch a weight for 3 months. My neck had to heal. It had to heal solid, so I didn't touch a weight or do a steroid for 3 months, and that was devastating to a professional wrestler. Right. But I did it to let my neck heal, and then it was starting over with 135 on the bench again, and making sure I could do that with my neck. And the only weird stuff that I found was like shrugs was weird, and still is to me. Shrugs was weird, and behind the neck presses I never did the rest of my life. Those are bad for you anyway. Anybody does behind the neck presses, stop. They're devastatingly hard on your spine. So that was about it. That was it, as far as that goes. But definitely April 22nd, 1998 was the biggest challenge of my entire life.
And it was a challenge that lasted a long period of time too. So, wow.
Yes.
I had no idea. Another good question here. I feel like we're already like topping the last couple of live streams with questions. Did you get in trouble for dressing up as Mark McGwire in your promo with Scott Steiner? I thought it was funny.
Another great question. So the answer is no. Me and Scotty didn't get in trouble for anything. We always would go to Eric first and make sure we were good. And the rest of the guys got mad about that because they couldn't do what they wanted. But Eric trusted me and Scotty, and so he allowed us to do it. So that night we would show up to a show, and we would say, what is the most craziest, ridiculous thing that we can do tonight? And that night was, ironically, if you go back and did your math, McGwire, the day before that Nitro, had just won the home run record. And steroids was all over him, and everything else was all over him. And I go out in Kansas City and take steroids with a Mark McGwire wig on, and it was phenomenal, but zero heat. And the lighter almost didn't like to do the jersey, to burn the hat in the jersey. And it would have messed up the whole segment.
Sure.
But it lit right before commercial break, man. It was like, yes. So no, we didn't get in trouble. And yes, it was a great spot. and just it really worked out well. You know, Mark Johnson, my childhood friend, he drove me out on the bike, and I'm waving to the crowd, and then took the steroids, and it was great. I'm sure somewhere down the line, I mean, probably not anymore, but I think there was a time that Martin McGwire was hoping he could see me to punch my face down my throat, but
Probably.
but I would have said sorry. I take steroids too, and I'm a huge McGwire fan, and don't have any idea why steroids can make you hit 100-mile-an-hour fastball better. But okay, if that's what y'all say, okay.
Right.
But I don't get that. And again, with wrestlers, everybody can take them. Don't get mad at me because I did them right and look better than y'all. So don't get mad at me because I took them because I work out and eat right when I take my steroids. You know, don't get mad at me.
Right.
Several guys I've said, Scott Steiner used to say, "Hey, brother, here's what I did. Now you do it and let's see how you look." And the guy would be like, "I'm good, bro. I'm good." Because you can't do it. No matter what Scotty did, you can't do it and look like him. He was a freak. He was the best, and he is the best. So, you can't do it. No matter what his diet, training methods, supplements are, you're not going to look like Scott Steiner when it's over.
No, I mean, there's plenty of guys that have used steroids over the last several decades of wrestling. I can't think of anybody that looked like Scott Steiner using steroids because there's obviously other things that go into that. Genetics, the way you use them, everything you do while using them. I mean,
training, diet,
right.
Everything, cardio. I mean, Scott Steiner's cardio, if anybody would really research it, he would drag a tire around his subdivision.
Wow.
That was Steiner cardio. I was in an air-conditioned building doing it with a Stairmaster. Scotty's outside dragging a tire around this subdivision with a boat motor or something behind him. It was crazy. It was like the Steiner compound over there. It was great.
Wow. To be one of his neighbors looking out the window.
Oh my God. The cops got called more than once, I promise.
Oh, I'm sure. Wow. And Waterbury, Connecticut. Yes. So Buff was actually in Waterbury about a month ago now, maybe a little bit more. But I don't think anybody knew that he was in Waterbury. The promo on that was a little bit weak, to say the least.
I don't think the guy that hired me knew I was there.
That is entirely possible.
Great guys, man. They really were. But they really fumbled. They really fumbled on that. God bless them. They really fumbled on getting that advertised properly. I hate that for them.
Yeah, I think we put it out on here, but with something like this that's all over, all over the world, we have people in here, right here in Australia right now watching this. It doesn't get that that immediate market that would support something like that. So that's the thing.
I took off from Australia at 6 p.m. on a Monday. And I remember it seemed like a week later I landed, and I landed at the same time on the same day. Wow. I landed in Atlanta, Georgia at 6 p.m. on a Monday, and it was the most crazy thing I've ever done in my life. I'm talking about I was on a plane for 20-something hours with connecting flights through LA, just one connecting flight, but still. After 9/11 had happened, it seemed like it was a week. And I landed, and it was the exact same time as I took off on the same day. On the same day.
Traveling with the sun or the moon, depending on when you took off.
It was crazy. Crazy.
Wow. And from I Like Stuff, hey Buff, do you collect your own trading cards?
You're not gonna believe this. I just got asked that today by another guy, and you may know the name of this. If not, I'm going to find out the name for us. But there's a guy that's really big into trading cards. And it's a company that he's got. Fleer,
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Fleer is a company that I think was involved at the end of WCW.
Okay.
This guy is like the number one worker for the 84-year-old man that bought that company. Or that took it over. This guy owns several companies. He's a millionaire. The guy gave me the whole story today. His name's Jason Mraz, Marois, Miraz. He runs the thing for the guy. So listen to this. He gives you. So what they do is they get a piece of ring worn memorabilia. It don't got to be like WCW or WWF ring worn, but as long as it's in a wrestling ring of a wrestling ring, ring worn, and they'll get like, if I had this sweatshirt on and it's ring worn, they chop it into 1,000 pieces and they put it on the trading card, and I sign it and they sell them. And man, I just did the deal with him today. We're going to be up in, see where am I at? Where he's meeting me, April 5th, Providence, up in Providence. Okay. He's up your way somewhere. This guy is, and he's meeting me at the show, and he's going to have me sign all the cards, and I'm making $1,000 to sign like 10 cards or something. Nice. And but I'm sending him my NWO personal NWO shirt with the Buff on the back. Now hear me out. I gave him, first let me tell you this. So he sent him that, they chop it up, but there's a lot of black. So I don't know how they do that. Now, if they cut it right here, they're going to get red, black, and white of the Buff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But if they get it down here, it's going to be solid black. So I don't know how they work that. Yeah. But it's going to be from that shirt. So I give him the idea. I go, why don't we chop up a top hat? And brother, he's all over it. He goes, oh my God. So they're going to do a thing where you can buy it all and you can put it back together if you want to.
Wow.
So I'm in the process of talking to these guys about that. And I go,
cool.
But he goes, I don't want to spend $2,000 on a top hat. I said, well, selling it to you for me to make money on, we ain't got to do $2,000. We can do, $300 or $400 or $500 what it takes to get me to make one of these. And it takes about $500 or $600 to buy the hat and get it painted properly. It's about $500 or $600, but for $500 you can get the hat, and then we can chop it up and make a bunch of money, man. So he's excited about it, and I got to send him you send him the pictures, they okay it, they pay for the product, they give you $150 for the t-shirt, they'll give me $500 for the top hat. And if they approve it, and then you mail it to them, they chop it up and you sign the cards, and they sell the top hat, pieces of the top hat, and pieces of your t-shirt. It's the coolest thing I've heard of.
That's awesome. I actually just got an email from AEW yesterday, and they're doing something similar now with the apron from their wrestling events. So like they have for like All Out, they take the apron, they chop it up, they put it onto, I don't think they were doing it with cards. They were doing it with like wall hangings of some sort. So it's like framed, and it's a pretty decent chunk. And then like Jericho signs it, and these different guys that were on the card will sign it. So it's a cool way to kind of recycle stuff that's, got in-ring use on it, and then, turn it into a collectible. So that's
Mick
really
Foley,
cool.
Mick Foley like did a referee spot for somebody.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
They took the tag off of his referee outfit.
Oh, like the pocket thing. Yep.
They made it into one.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Yes.
And this one, Rail Stalker Adventures, Yo Bagwell. Remember me from the NCWA meet and greet a while back. Well, it'll be hard for him to put a face with the photo there, but do you remember that meet and greet? The NCWA meet and greet.
Oh, you're talking about that meet and greet from a while back. Sure I do. Are you kidding? Of course I do.
How many meet and greets do you do a month?
Brother, my memory is incredible. If you give me a little more, I would know.
Probably, right?
But I really do take time when I'm at those things. I don't even take time. It's just in me to meet the person and know the person, and I just really enjoy doing those. But I would need a little more info on that. But I'm sure I would remember once you explained it.
Absolutely. I mean, when we got to WrestleCade, this was how long ago was this? 2 weeks now?
2 weeks.
Only 2 weeks. You didn't even get out of it. I think it was 2. I
Okay.
think it'll be 2, yeah, something like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
You didn't even get out of the car, and you had a line at your car at the front of the building
Yeah.
for people to come up to you.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there waiting to talk to you as well and, help you get situated and stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, this could go either way here. You got out of the car, nice to everybody, shook hands with people. I mean, you didn't have 2 feet on the ground yet. So
Right.
that's just
Yes.
how Mark is. I mean, it's incredible. And situations like that, I could see why, you see videos sometimes of wrestlers or just people in general that are, of celebrity status getting a little upset because sometimes there's no boundaries. And that
No.
that can that can be a lot. But you have a great way of handling things. I've never seen, and I've been with you now several times at signings and appearances. Never a moment of frustration shown, nothing of the sort.
Always, always. I mean, up and over the top with niceness for me. But I do give you what you give me. If a person comes up and it's kind of rough, man, I'm like, hey, bro, I mean, what about this? So, but it's funny you brought that up because of the lady that talked about the day I got fired.
Yes, yes. Let's
Please bring that up.
All right. So we just did a video about this. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. And I'm going to pull up our text messages because I saw this and I want to address this too. With comments on the channel, it's tough to keep up with. And I do see sometimes, and I get it on my channel as well. People say, oh, you don't respond to comments and stuff like that. It's one of those things you got to figure. We've done over 100 videos now. When including the shorts and stuff like that, comments come in constantly around the clock. So we only see a handful of them a day, but this one came in, and I really believe that it came across my radar for a reason. It's a long one, so I'm going to read this here from my phone, so bear with me. But this was on the video talking about the day that Buff Bagwell was released from WWF at the time by Jim Ross.
So this is me. This is me walking out
the back door of the arena, because you said in that video that you wanted to kind of get your stuff and not really be seen leaving the building, obviously,
right.
because this is showtime. People are
Yes.
starting their matches, and you're being let
Everybody's
go.
gonna be asking, where are you going? Where are you going, Bagwell?
Right.
Where are you going?
And mind you, now they had told you they had big plans for you this night, and the big plans turned out that you're getting released. So
Yes.
so you're grabbing your stuff and casually moving towards the exit. And this is a comment from, and it's from Nick Vogus 4918 here. There's one thing Buff didn't tell you about this story that I'm sorry, Buff, but I have to point this out. And it's long, so bear with me, guys. I was there outside the arena in Atlanta. I now live in Atlanta, but lived in Columbus, Georgia at the time. And Raw in Atlanta was always a big deal. I was about 21. Let me see. Here we go. I was about 21 and was out there with my best friend trying to get pictures with guys as they were coming in. One of the people we met was Buff Bagwell on his way out. So out, leaving the building while everybody else, he's taking pictures with people that are coming in. He was going out to his car. We didn't know anything about what had just happened, but I kid you not, when I tell you Buff shook our hand, took pictures with us with a smile on his face, and he was the one he took pictures with us as the one getting to take pictures. So you were acting to these guys like you were excited to take pictures with them when they're waiting out there just trying to get shots with wrestlers coming in.
As I just was fired.
As you were just fired. And you're talking about in the video how you're going out the door holding tears back because your world's coming to an end.
Can't wait to get in my car so I can cry.
Right. And so you're taking pictures, making two people's day that are just waiting outside the arena.
As my world had ended.
Exactly. I mean, so I immediately just took the screenshot of this, sent it to you. You hit me right back and said, what a great story. And Stacy started texting me about this too. I mean, it's incredible. So it's a long one. I won't read the whole thing here.
You said perfectly. Yeah. You said it enough. But it's amazing that, I mean, hear me out. Do I remember that? No, I don't. But again, I don't remember Yo Bagwell. Do you remember me from the meet and greet? I really care and love all my fans, but try to find in there as I'm talking, Chase, where he says that it doesn't get said enough. That's the part I want you to try to read. Sure. Because in this person looks at it and says, a lot of people, and I'm gonna let Chase say it in his words when he finds it, but he does
Sure.
say, he goes, he goes, it's amazing some of the bad stuff that gets said about you. And I just want people to hear this because, again, for anybody that just tuned in, I have just been released, or however you want to call it, fired from the WWF/WWE. I'm leaving the building and I'm never coming back. And I took time out of my way to make pictures and make this person's day. He had no idea I'd been fired, and it wasn't his fault. But he had no idea till he researched all of this, heard my video, and then said the part about, what's he say about the, I wish people would know more about this, Chase?
So we got here, it says, let's see. So after you left, he and his friend both said to each other, "Man, Buff is a really nice guy, huh?" And he was absolutely amazing, nice guy. Whenever you tried to get pictures with people, 85% of the guys don't even acknowledge you. 10% wave at you. 5% stop and sign autographs and take pictures. We met a good bit of guys that day because there were so many extra guys there for what could have been a great angle, the invasion, angle with WWF. On the ride back, let's see, here in the car. As we were in the car driving back that night, it was nice that Buff was there. We were talking about, I guess we were a little bit surprised because of the stuff you hear about Bagwell online. Let me zoom this in. My eyes are shot here. But when you find out he was literally just fired and still took the time to be beyond nice to the fans outside, it really speaks to what a true gentleman and good guy he is, because I have no doubt he cried in his car because I sure would have, haven't been released. Anyways, thank you, Buff. I think people need to hear these kind of stories about you because you don't deserve so many of these other stories that are out there. In a time where Buff could have and should have told me to F off, instead he decided to make my day and take those photos. So great story. I mean, it's great.
That's a great story. And
I'll take this. I'm going to take the entire comment here and I'll put it out there as a post here on the channel because I know a lot of people will want to read that for themselves. I mean, it is a lengthy one. It's 3 different screenshots here to get it all, but I mean, it speaks volumes to, what somebody would do for the fans. And
it really does. And just to know that as soon as I got done taking those pictures, I can promise you, I got into my $85,000 Jaguar and I cried uncontrollably. I remember calling my father that was in the stands and I said, "You guys can come home." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm going home."
Wow.
And my dad didn't say a word. He just went, "Okay, man. Okay." And he told me the visual there was them rolling up signs and leaving the building.
Wow.
And I'm bawling, driving a car that's gone. I'm heading toward a house that's gone. But I took 10 minutes out of my day to make 2 fans' night because it wasn't their fault. But those kind of good stories do not get shared enough, because I can promise you there's a bunch of these stories that either we don't see or people don't tell. But the ones we find, that was a great one to hear about. It warms my heart. And it's good for me to hear those kind of things, because keep in mind, I don't get rewarded for that. And I don't want to be rewarded. But
right.
To hear something so wonderful when I am really good to everybody I meet, it makes me feel good about myself. So thank you to the fans. And again, to back up what Chase said a minute ago, please do understand that we answer it rips my heart out that when we go off the air, an hour past when we say we're going to be here, it still upsets me that we don't get to every single comment. We do the best we can. Please know that we love all of you guys, and just please hang with us, because if we can see it and we can get to it, we do. And we thank each and every one of you guys. We love you.
Absolutely. I mean, when we started this thing out, we didn't know how this was going to go. I mean,
no.
I knew that the stories would be a hit on YouTube. We knew that going in, but we didn't know if it would just be the two of us and three other people here in these live streams. And we've got over 109. I'm at my current count right here with us this moment. And it fluctuates a little bit. People have a lot going on. We're also competing against the NFL at this time of year, but it really means a lot to both of us that, this is such a warm and inviting community here. And we don't, at least in here, we don't see those negative comments. We don't have people in here, being hateful and all that. And that's always good in this day and age. So it would be nice, though, to see, obviously the headlines are always going to be the juicy negative stories, right? I mean, it's always been like that for decades and decades, for hundreds of years. But it would be cool to see stories like this get picked up about something like that just totally blew me away to read that nice story there.
Great story. Great story.
Absolutely. And this comment came in an hour ago, but I think we covered that. It was like working in WWE and then being released by WWE. I think we answered that before we even saw it here. So
yeah, we covered that one tonight for sure. But yeah, it was I didn't get to do that a whole long time, but it was pretty rough.
From Mike Wood here, this is another good one especially for the Christmas season. What was the best Christmas gift you have ever received, and what was your favorite gift to have? Is that asked the same way?
That you've ever
given. Gotcha. Both sides.
So instantly, I know this one, and it's a great one. I think everybody can kind of remember roughly this being your gift. It just happened to be my Christmas gift. So 1986, I'm a January baby. So I'm January 10th. And it was a great place to have Christmas, especially if your parents were rich, because it was far enough apart that Christmas and your birthday was definitely different. That was 2.5 weeks away. So no, you can't say, hey, Christmas and birthday. No, you can't, especially if your parents are loaded like mine were. So Christmas comes and I really didn't know. I had no idea. And bro, we came from such a rich family. This is so bad to say, but our family was so wealthy that 3 boys with everything they've asked for, all 3 boys, we come down the same time. My oldest brother, he would go make sure Santa Claus was gone. And he would go making sure St. Nick was gone. And he'd come back to me and John and go, okay, Santa Claus is gone. Come on. And we would all walk in the big living room together. But I was stepping over go-karts and motorcycles and remote control airplanes. I'm stepping over those things to see what's outside because the big stuff's outside. And I step over a go-kart and a motorcycle to look and see what's outside. And there's a shiny, beautiful, wonderful red Jeep. And in my era of 1986, the super Cadillac of Jeeps was called a Laredo. It had leather seats, the hard top, the rims, the AC and heat, just really, really first class Jeeps. Laredo was one of the first to do that. And man, it was the best gift. It was the most wonderful 2.5 years of my life with the vehicle. The next Christmas, I got it all jacked up, the wheels and tires. And my God, it was a great vehicle and a beautiful, fun vehicle. Everybody knew Bagwell was coming, man. It was like, rah, 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 with big tires and radio blasting. And it was crazy, but that was definitely the best gift ever. The best gift I've ever given. Oh man. My dad, one year we're all celebrating Christmas and my dad goes, what'd y'all get me? And we were like, oh, we don't got any money, bro. And so it got to be a thing where they would give Stevie his credit card and we would go buy Dad something. And one year we bought Dad we put rims and tires and all the gun stuff and KC lights and everything. He's a big deer hunter on this brown Ford like a 1982 Bronco, brand new, and it was beautiful. We bought my dad that for Christmas one year on his credit card, and happy Merry Christmas, Daddy! And he was excited like somebody else had bought it. Oh my God, I love it! So it was fun for him, but he had to pay the bill. But
Right. Well, I'm sure money
still,
wasn't. I'm sure that wasn't. That wasn't an issue for him. It was the thought. That really got through.
So, but again, we didn't know that we could do that, and it was. But from that year on, it was the thing we would do. We'd go buy my father a cool gift with his credit card with my oldest brother, and it became a thing we do every year. But that'd probably be the coolest thing I remember. But that's the Jeep, man. It holds a memory to this day. And I had two brothers, and it seems like when I talk to them, they forgot about that 15 years a little more than I did. I don't know why, and they had more than 15, but I had 15 years, man, of a wonderful life. I mean, a life that I'll never see again. It was a life of I walk into anywhere I walked into, and I just signed my name. I didn't have to take any money anywhere I went. It was I walk in, buy 2 pair of cleats, a baseball bat, and I sign my name. I walk into in football season, I get a pair of tights, a new pair of shoes, cleats again, gloves, whatever, a helmet, mask.
Right.
I sign my name and walk out because my parents were rich. It was something, but we wasn't spoiled brats. It was something to be thankful for, man, and we were, and it was incredible. But yeah, it just that gift stands out. Of that's that Christmas of seeing that red Jeep was wonderful. Great question.
Wow. Absolutely. Another one here from Mets Rule. Buff, is Missy Hyatt the single most important person that helped you get into the business? And do you keep in touch?
Yes, she is the single most person that helped me get in this business. I mean, there were people that played a part in things that with money along the way and help with money and like my outfit. I even give my airbrush guy a big prop, coming up with those ideas, airbrushing my overalls and my top hats. And, he's a big part of Buff. So, it was a lot of stuff, but I was the engine, taking it, and it just all really worked out great. But without Missy Hyatt, clear as can be, without Missy Hyatt, there was no wrestling career. So she gave me a 33-year life with money involved. I mean, supporting me. She supported me. Her idea supported Marcus Alexander Bagwell for the next 33 years and counting. So yeah. I owe and love Missy Hyatt more than anything in the world. And it was great to know that she, did this for me. It was a great thing. It was a big part of my life. And I wish her finding me could have helped her more. Maybe we've never talked about this, but maybe she should have made me sign a contract. Because she wouldn't have been rich, but she would have made a lot of money on me the next 33 years.
Yeah, right. Little royalty deal.
Little royalty check.
And do you keep in touch with Missy?
When we see each other, we don't miss a beat. But no, we don't. But we see each other a good bit. I'd say, 6-8 times a year we see each other. We saw each other at Cauliflower Alley, and and we talked, and so we see each other a good bit. She'd be great to have on the YouTube channel.
Oh, for sure. We'd love to have her too. That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, 6 to 8 times a year. I mean, I have close friends that I don't get to see that often, so that's pretty good to be able to be able to catch up that many times, and that's in person too. That's not a phone call. That's not an email. That's an in person, time together.
Absolutely.
So this is another good question, and I'm going to start this off with a video came out, I think just yesterday or the day before, actually with Norton, and he talked about this. And this is the question everybody's wondering, right? And I think we even did a video on this. What would you consider the reason for WCW's end? And there's a lot of elements. Norton said that I think it was phrased, what killed WCW. And for us, we know at the end it was Vince, but a lot of things went on to lead up to that. Norton said it was the wrestlers, and it was the wrestlers, fighting against management, fighting against, the booker, wanting to kind of deviate from the plan of, what was presented to them. So giving you two parts to that.
That's a pretty good one,
It
and
is.
again,
And I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of things, right? I mean, it's not just one thing that did it. So that's just another thing that we're shining the light on,
But I will say that after me being there the entire journey, and me watching Who Killed WCW, and finding out it was the Latham guy, whatever name that you wrote down for me, Kevin Latham, or I forget, can't remember his name.
Right.
100%, no matter if it was the wrestlers doing this, the writers doing that. If you watch Who Killed WCW, Eric Bischoff was in Hawaii celebrating a $64 million deal with Time Warner, and was celebrating with his wife and kids because he was not going to be home he was going to be very busy getting WCW on his feet. And if Eric Bischoff had a company, Marcus Alexander Bagwell had a job. And that was a great feeling to know. But for him to be doing that, and then me watching the show I watched, I'm surprised this is even a question anymore. Because if you watch Who Killed WCW, it comes a part of the story where there's a Time Warner rep, and he's got a big title.
Yep.
And he says, I simply didn't want wrestling on our network anymore.
Right.
And they went from 64 million to 4.3 to Vince McMahon. So I don't think it was at that junction. I really don't think it's Vince. I don't think it's the wrestlers. I don't think it's Eric Bischoff. I don't think it's Russo. I think those things played minimal parts, but the part of the boss saying, I don't want this on our network anymore. It was 100%. Over. It was over.
Yep. And if Bischoff had taken over with his investors, it would have been on their network. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done the deal for that amount of money, because now he's got a company that has no TV deal. There's nowhere to air this.
No.
Therefore, all you would have is the gate for, attendance and, people going to the actual show, which in the big picture is just a small piece of the pie. So
sure, it's definitely not worth $64 million.
No. And I mean, and Vince had a place where he could have put it. He had network deals. I think it was on 2 different networks at the time. So he had all that and still only paid, a fraction of it. I mean, I would bet you that NWO merchandise at this point he probably in a couple of years made more money just off NWO merchandising than what he ended up, paying for WCW in the end.
Absolutely.
I mean, what he paid for what he was supposed to pay in hush money was more than he paid for WCW.
Oh, absolutely.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
It really is.
All right, we got from Cosmic Chris here again. Buff, I've always wondered why most WCW wrestlers now hate WCW and hate most of the boys, while ECW and WWE are like crate for life. Even NWO members, it's supposed to be for life. I don't know that NWO guys hate each other though. I think everybody's pretty on good terms with each other, as far as I could tell, anyways.
And I'm not quite sure what WCW guys hate WCW guys.
I'm not sure. I mean, I guess Goldberg has some heat with some guys. I don't know.
Again,
I think that's all rumors, though. There's no. Anytime I've seen guys, and I've again been to a lot of signings with you, I see guys going up to each other, hugging each other, shaking hands, and it could be guys that have been at odds at times. I mean, you guys were like a traveling family, so naturally, I mean, me and my best friends have had little issues here and there, but at the end of the day, I feel like there's a brotherhood there. So,
yeah, absolutely. And with NWO especially, there's nothing there. I don't know anybody that's at words with that. But the WCW part of it, even that, I don't really know. We were really all close knit. There was never any real heat in the dressing rooms. a few fights here and there,
Sure.
but nothing like me and Ernest got in a fight, a little slap here and there. But I'm talking about, and after that, we were great friends.
And still are.
Still are.
Right.
And then Jake, and then Scotty in Dallas, that was, they're huge friends, but back up. Yes, they are, because now Scotty goes over to Dallas's house and does yoga with him and his kids. And so I don't really know of any real big heat with the situation. It's so, but I do kind of see what you're talking about, Cosmic Chris, but I mean, I can see where that could be true, but I really haven't heard much about WCW guys hating WCW. I mean, I have never said I hated WCW and never will. So whoever says they hate WCW, they're either mentally disturbed or they're just wrong, because WCW did nothing but take care of its wrestlers and do a great job with us.
Right. And here's one from Working Punch Production. Steiner hates Hogan. That is one I've heard, that Steiner and Hogan
but
have
again,
issues. Okay. That's one that I can think of.
Well, and let's go with Goldberg and Hart.
Right.
I don't really count Hogan a WCW guy. I count him a WWF guy.
Right.
And I count Hart Bret the Hitman. I count him a WWF guy.
Oh,
so
sure.
Back to WCW guys, Hogan and Hart really ain't WCW guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha. I can see that thought process for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing though. Like you think about it, you've lost so many guys over the last 30 years from the business. I feel like for those that are still out there, still, doing signings, appearances, and still, immersed in that community of pro wrestlers, there's a brotherhood there that I feel like you would have to put your differences, aside to some extent. With Bret and Goldberg, it seems like that one's never going to end, at least from Bret's side. But, it is what it is. And that one's a personal one for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure.
So let's see what else we got here. Jameson, Little Buff Shadow Warrior 199. You just sent us a super chat. There's no question on there, so send us a question and we'll pull it up for you. Appreciate the 199, but ask us a question. What's the craziest thing you ever saw Big Papa Pump do outside of the ring?
Big Papa Pump outside of the ring. God, let me think. I guess it would have to be traffic. One time we were running late for a show or something. It was in Orlando, and man, this guy wouldn't get over. If you didn't get over when he flashed his lights, you were getting ran off the road. And this guy wouldn't get over. So finally, Scotty just runs him off the road, and before I know it, Rick and Scott both are out of the car on this guy, and just surrounding the car. And of course, I'm also out thinking, what am I doing out of this car? And then we're getting ready to, this guy's in his car, suit and tie, 140-pound guy, scared to death. And Rick Steiner's on his, a little joke for me. Rick Steiner's on his roof of his car. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, oh my, I said, guys, we're going to go to jail. But back then, there wasn't no cell phones, and nobody did go to jail back then. But that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But, Scotty just did what he wanted to do. And it was, I kind of agreed with most of the stuff. It was something it wasn't like anything like something I didn't agree with. But it just was what I agreed with times two. And then he would go with it, so it was definitely very intense, very, very intense always. But that JJ Dillon thing we did where, where he did the spot where he was trying to interview JJ and he was really trying to get to him. I mean, that was intense. That was a 10 for sure. And it was intense for sure. And and I think he would have killed JJ that night. I really do. He was trying to get to him. And I was saying things that I thought would matter. Like, Scotty, you're going to go to jail. You're going to get fired. You're going to whatever. It was crazy that the way he was acting, and there was nothing I was saying that was going to stop him.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine driving down the road and Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner jumping out of their car and surrounding your vehicle.
Right?
I think your heart would just about jump out of your chest at that
Yes.
point.
My
Wow.
Charger, baby.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a crazy. I remember it was in Orlando because there were tolls, you know, and in between
Yep.
the tolls, the guy he ran him off into the median, and then he ran him off, and then we got out of the car. I'm like, what are we doing? And I was with him. I'm thinking,
Wow.
now what do we do? And the guy's in his car, like he's covering up in the car, but the doors are locked, and they're trying to get the door open. And I'm like, Scotty, we can't do this.
And what do you think the cause of that is? That just they were wired that way? They were just intense guys, or
absolutely.
What's the driving force behind this response to I don't want to move over to let you by on the highway?
I mean, I think a doctor would say, you know, some kind of, you know, steroid or supplement of some sort, but not these guys they were just wired that way. I was wired that way. Same thing, but we used to go down the road before I knew what a steroid was. We go down the road and in Marietta, Georgia, and we played a game called Brake Lights. Yeah. You ever been in a car with your friends and you think you're cool and tough, and you would kind of look at each other's car when you went by? Did you ever do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. In Marietta, Georgia, if you did that and you hit your brakes, you turned around and went back and fought.
Okay.
It was called brake light. So if you were, in other words, if you hit your brakes, as soon as we saw brakes, you turning to go right back to fight. And now that sounds crazy, but that's exactly what happened. My brother would get out and go, boom, boom, with a gun and go, you got something to say? And everybody's like, they're diving underneath their cars, you know? And so they're like, no, we're cool, man. We're cool. And I'm saying, okay, watch your brakes. Watch your brakes, brother. Brake light.
So you guys might be wired a little different down there too. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I think we were just wired differently, which is
wow.
called crazy and stupid. But to me, when I watched my brothers do it, it seemed like fun. So I remember we did it, you know, as kids. And then all that stuff stopped, brother, when cell phones happened.
Oh yeah, you can't get away with anything now.
No. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything has changed now. I mean, I think you had the greatest job at the greatest time for wrestling too, because you guys, I mean, you and Steiner alone, the promos you guys used to cut, they couldn't do that today on any of the networks, with any of the companies. You just can't push buttons like that. You can't play that game anymore. Everybody's offended by something. So here's a good one. Would you give credit for Rey Mysterio Jr. and guys like him for inspiring shorter people to wrestle, since you never saw that size of guy before?
Let's see. Would you give credit for? Would you
give Rey Mysterio Jr. credit and guys like that for inspiring smaller guys to get into the business, basically?
Oh, 100%. Well, first of all, let me tell you that I think I inspired. I mean, I'm 5'10", bro. I'm telling you.
I was shocked that you were 5'10", though, when we met in person, because obviously wrestling, everybody's billed at a higher, a higher height.
Sure.
But you were jacked, huge, looked great. I don't think anybody would, I don't think anybody imagined that you were only 2 inches taller than Chris Benoit. We think of Chris Benoit as one of the smaller guys.
Right.
You and him weren't that far off. I mean, 2 inches maybe.
Yeah. And and Goldberg's 6'1". I think he gets a 6'2" or 6'3", but he's not. He's 6'1". Roman gets 260 and he's 225. And I don't really get why they blow it up so much. It's kind of ridiculous. But I mean, I may be 5'11", but you're still talking 2 or 3 inches off what they bill me at. I just think that everybody wants their heroes to be bigger. And here's the sad part is people believe it. They believe that Roman is 260 or 270. Guys that are body guys know that he's nowhere near that. But hey, baby, I need my charger, please. And nobody's near that. I mean, Roman's not near that, but I don't mean I'm not a fan of his. He just isn't. He isn't as tall and he isn't as big as they say. Nowhere near as much as he's weight wise. Right. And but I remember Pillman. You know, back to giving credit to Mysterio. You know, Pillman. When I came in, they said you're not big enough. And I said I'm bigger than Brian Pillman. And so I do believe that Marcus Alexander, I've been told this, and I believe it, that people saw me on TV, a young, shorter kid from Marietta, Georgia, and said, well, hell, if he can do it, I can do it. Because I saw a shorter, jacked up Brian Pillman. I said, I can do this. So I believe that I got people to get in the business because of it. And I know for a fact Rey Mysterio did as well.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. I mean, we're seeing a big push of guys that are smaller. I mean, Danhausen is not tall. He's very skinny, but you know, a good wrestler, and he's over with everybody today. So we're seeing more and more of that, and I think it's gone to maybe an extreme of like everybody looks like an everyday person, not just in stature, but you know, build and all that too. But let's see what else we have. I saw another one here. Oh,
Stacy, will you bring my charger, please?
So you mentioned that Hogan you consider to be a WWF, WWE guy. Right. What about Hall and Nash? Are they WWE guys? I mean, they actually started both in WCW. So, but I guess they got big, they got over in WWF, and then of course came back.
Right. So you know, it's a good question because they started here. I still, though, I believe I would call those guys WWF guys. I think they would call themselves WWF guys.
Because they got more over there than WCW.
Their character got over in the WWF, WWE. Their character got over there. To me, that makes them WWF, WWE guys. Goldberg wrestled at the WWF and WWE, but Goldberg is a WCW guy. Sure. Hogan came out for years at the WWF. So to me, Hogan is a WWF guy. That's what I really believe.
Well, Hogan was the WWF for, you know,
right,
nearly 10 full years before he went over. But for Nash and Hall, their name was the Outsiders when they were in WCW. I think that says it all. So that WWF for sure. Let's see. From Jack Boyer here. Greetings from Waynesville, North Carolina. Keep it up, Buff.
Let's see. Greetings from Wayne. That's cool. Waynesville. I don't know where Waynesville, North Carolina is.
I'm not sure. It sounds familiar, but there's a lot of towns and cities down there that kind of sound similar like that. So
thanks, Jack, man. I don't think I've ever wrestled in Waynesville, but I love North Carolina. I've wrestled all over that state, man. Thanks for tuning in.
And Bubba Fudd Bullet Smith, have you played WCW NWO Revenge? You can say yes to that now. You have played that game.
I can, because we did it. Have we showed that?
We have not. It's on my list. I mean, I just put out the Bubba interview, which is like 3-4 months old now that we shot that. So that just came out this week. That's the thing. When we film like 20 videos, and then we end up with a big backlog of things that have to get edited and put out, and then we're constantly filming new stuff too. So we will get that out very soon. I'll aim for before the holidays for sure for that one, and you guys could see him playing it for the first time. It's a sight to see, guys. And then we have here Virgil Dawkins. Can you emphasize how wrestling truly goes beyond what happens in the ring? No one understands how challenging it is to navigate a locker room and deal with wrestling politics. That's the real sport. That's deep.
That was deep. So he says, can you emphasize how wrestling truly goes beyond what happens in the ring? No one understands how challenging navigate. Wow, brother. So I know I've told it before, but I'll tell it again. So the locker room is what makes or breaks you. It is just what it is. It's just, um, I mean, people have gotten made and got people gotten broken right there. You got to navigate this whole thing. You got to navigate the way you handle yourself in a finish room. Walk into a finish room and you don't like the way it goes down. You may be fired over the way you act. So it's navigating through bosses. I went through 5 bosses at WCW, 5 bosses. And to me, that speaks volumes of me. That means I survived 5 bosses. And it only took one to get rid of me. So the 6th boss got rid of me. But six out of 1 out of 6 ain't bad. So but it really is all of it. It's not just being good in the ring, having a great body. You can talk well, you can wrestle well. It's about how you act in the dressing room, how you get along with the staff, how you get along with the agents, how you get along with the rest of the guys. It can kill you. I mean, it can wear you out, and it can wear you out to the point of you just quit. I've seen stories where guys get several things, human feces in their bag for messing with the wrong people. It's a rough locker room, brother. If you survive a pro wrestling locker room, there's no locker room that you can't survive in, brother. So it is much deeper than people think. Well, the politics and stuff, but the one example I'll give is Buff Bagwell goes from WCW to the WWF, and there's nothing stopping Buff Bagwell from being one of the main players in a few years. He's 31 years old. He's got one of the best physiques in wrestling, one of the best wrestlers. Buff Bagwell's going to be, one of the top guys pretty quick if he just navigates his career properly. I walk into the WWF and my top hat sitting beside me. And so I get up to go to catering or something. When I come back, my top hat was squished in. And in wrestling, again, I got to navigate this now. I've got to realize what to do right here. So at this junction, the last thing you do is what they call sell it. Who the hell? What's going on? You do that and you're done. I just gently fix my top hat, set it right back down, and continue doing what I was doing. Heard a couple of snickers and a couple of laughs, didn't faze me. About an hour later, I get to go get a drink. I come back, top hat's crushed in again. I fix it again, no big deal, thinking, wow, I hear a couple of snickers, ha, ha, ha. About an hour later, I need to go to the bathroom or something. I stand up to walk out of the room. I come back to my own top hat, and I crush it in. And I walk out of the room going, ha, 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 to myself. I go, yeah, try that on for size. I come back in the room and the hat was fixed. And I went, wow, brother. It was a whole nother class of professional locker room politics. And I was like, man, this is going to be a tough crowd, brother. And it was tough, but not for very long until they released me. But it was a tough locker room, brother, for sure.
Wow. So you told me that story with the OVW girls last week in North Carolina. So today, my daughter came down crying from upstairs because her brother was messing with her. She kept putting her hair back. He kept pulling it out, and she started crying. I said, I gave her the Buff Bagwell advice. I said, don't sell it because that's what he's looking for. He's looking for that reaction. So she went upstairs. He did it again. She didn't sell it. Came back down, no tears. So you're helping everybody, Buff.
See there, Buffnology.
Exactly. Helping families all over.
I love it.
Hey, Buff, it's little Buff here. We met you Sunday at Memphis with Big John Dalton. What was your hardest match? I just watched your match you had with Big Vito.
Wow, this little kid right here was a little kid that dressed up like
I saw that. I think it was Memphis that posted it, or I saw it through your Instagram. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, cool. Very cute kid. He had the overalls. He had the hat. Yeah. That's awesome.
He had the whole deal. So hardest match, you know, God, that's when I get asked these things, it's tough because there was so many matches, you know, so many. I mean, every once in a while, though, something come on, I'm like, man, this is going to be a great match, you know, and I'll watch it and it is a great match, but there was just so many of them, you know. So to say what was, you know, my hardest match, you know, it's just tough to come up with that one. What is your best match? It's tough. What is your worst match? It's kind of easy, but even I messed that up. So, you know, what is your hardest? You know, I don't know, man. It just, there's so many hard ones. It's a tough business, and it's just hard to kind of name those things. But what comes to mind with hardest is, you know, Goldberg, because, you know, he's very tough to wrestle. He was strong, he was tough, and when you wrestled Bill, you know, it was intense. So I think that was definitely one of the hardest for sure. You know,
It's a good one. It's a good one. Here we go. Do you know why Scott Steiner brought out a tiger? I remember that, and that looked like it almost got away from him that night too. That was a wild one.
but that must have been Vegas.
I think so. Yeah, it was. I think was it a white tiger? I forget. I'll have to pull that up. But I remember the handler was there, and it kind of gave him a little trouble, and then they got to going down to the ring.
Really?
Steiner tiger. Yes, we got. No, it was regular tiger.
What city?
Let me see if it pulls up here. It's going to be. Looks like a. Doesn't say. It just says he brings out a tiger.
I'm almost positive it was Vegas because of the, you know, the tigers out
Siegfried
there.
and yep, Siegfried and Roy. Yep.
So I think it was something to do with that, but I don't really know why he did it. You know, Scotty always liked doing that kind of stuff. For a long time, they brought out their bulldog Arnold. You know, they had Arnold.
Yep.
Did you ever see those when
Yep.
when Arnold came out with them? That was their personal dog, you know, and that was cool. So I think they always liked, you know, coming out with with an animal, and I mean, and they look cool too. Bringing him out, you know, bringing a tiger out was cool. So I think he just, you know, brought it out to look cool, and it did look cool.
Here's another good question from Lisa Codd. Hey, Buff, Merry Christmas. What advice would you give to the younger generation that you wish someone gave you?
Whoa, that's another good question. So, oh man, I think something I've thought about lately that I would have wish I would have had the advice that would be, you know, I was so gung ho on everything. I mean, like, I didn't just shave my arms. I shaved my whole body. I didn't just work out a little bit. I got in shape everywhere. You know, I was all in, you know. I was big about winning battles, but I don't think I was looking at winning the war, or even the example of winning the race. I won a bunch of races, but really it's about winning the marathon, you know?
Right.
So I just don't think I was geared that way. And if I would have had somebody tell it to me, you know, I think I would have slowed down a little bit to get more of a marathon idea out of myself than the sprint or the race. I just feel like, you know, like with the WWE, I mean, there's nothing that can go wrong here. Vince has named 5 people. I'm one of the 5. I'm one of the top 5 best bodies in the business. I've proven that I can work. This should be an easy transition. I survived 5 bosses. I'm going to survive this one. But I believe where I got messed up at the end was I definitely had a pill and drinking problem, but I thought since when you don't get in trouble with it, you think, well, I got to get in trouble before I get fired.
You would think.
You would think.
Right.
And so I banked on that. I banked on, look, you've never got in trouble for this. You've never shown your butt with drinking or drugging.
Right.
You don't, zero DUIs, zero trouble I'd been into. So surely before you fire Buff Bagwell, you're going to have to, there's going to have to be a,
slap on the wrist. Yeah.
And there wasn't. So I banked on something that they didn't have to have. They didn't have to have a slap on the wrist. There wasn't a slap on the wrist. There was a cut of the throat and I was gone. So, you can't teach that one, unfortunately, but I do wish I would have slowed down a little bit to win the marathon other than winning a bunch of races.
For sure. Yeah, when you're in the moment, it's hard to see, the future, to see that long shot. So I think that's something everybody struggles with,
I do too. I mean, like
hindsight's always 20/20, looking back, you can, the right thing to have done, but in that moment, it's a different situation.
The best way I like it said to me that makes the most sense is being a Tuesday morning quarterback. It's that waking up on Tuesday morning and knowing what you should have done and what you could have done.
Right.
And everybody can be a Tuesday morning quarterback. But when you're in it, what I remember thinking, what I thought was, there's no way they can fire me until I get in trouble. And I was wrong.
For sure.
I was wrong. And I didn't think I was. And if I had to do it over, think what was facing me. What was facing me was going to Vince McMahon and saying, hey guys, I've got an alcohol and drug problem. At the point of the invasion, and trusting them not to fire me because I needed a professional detox to come off of prescription pills. I need a professional detox to come off of alcohol. And to do that, I was going to go to my boss that I just have been working for a month and say, hey, Vince, I need to go to rehab. Now, that may have worked, but again, Tuesday morning quarterback, what do you do? Wait a minute, I'm the main event, and y'all messed up. Didn't talk to us, and y'all got big plans next week. Okay, I'm in, and then you're not in. You're out.
Right.
So it was so many things weird about me leaving the WWF that it's not a regret of mine. If I would have done something and been warned and did it again and got fired, then it's a regret. I don't have a regret. It's just a frustration. But very tough business, again, the Tuesday morning quarterback, it's easy to be that, but it would have been do what I did and got fired or released, whatever they call it, or me at a very vulnerable stage to go to my boss and say, I need to go to rehab. And brother, as I even say it, I'm thinking that would have been impossible. It would have been impossible to go to my boss and go, I'm effed up. I need to go to rehab. It may have saved my job, but it may have got me fired quicker.
Right. And this isn't Eric Bischoff, who you had, 10 good years with. This is somebody brand new to you. And for that period of time too, I feel like it probably wouldn't have gone in your favorite, in your favor doing that. So it's a tough spot to be in. And unfortunately, I think it's either way you went, you were going to have problems. So
yeah.
From Richard Maldonado, what are your memories in New York? New York was WWE territory, WWF back then, territory. Do you have any memories in New York back then?
None. I mean,
did you guys ever go to? So I just saw Bischoff in New York the other day. I met him out there, and I think they actually billed it as his first time in New York ever. So that might answer the question right there. You guys may have never even been in New York.
I think I did a house show years ago for like a really small little room off to the side of Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
It wasn't actually the garden. It was like a little room off to the side
Yep.
that I think we did a house show in or something before Eric was our boss.
Okay.
Early 90s stuff.
Gotcha.
So, so no, there's no memories of New York. We did, I mean, a few nitros at the Nassau Coliseum, I think it was called, with the hockey guys playing. And so
Long Island, yeah.
In and out of New York here and there, but zero memories, zero.
Wow. Yeah, that was always Vince's territory. I think he always had Madison Square Garden kind of locked down too.
Oh yeah.
And from Robinson here, Buff, did you play the best wrestling game of all time, WCW Backstage Assault? So you may not know this, Mark, but this is possibly one of the worst games ever. Not just wrestling games. Like it's everybody makes fun of it for being one of the worst games ever made. So you probably have not played this game, but it's a rough one. Very glitchy.
What is it?
So it was the last game that WCW put out. So at this time, maybe they knew that the doors would be closing soon. So it was just terrible graphics, real glitchy. We'll do a video on it because I think it would be very entertaining to watch you try to play this. I actually tried to play it because you're a locked character in this game. So you have to, and you're one of the later characters that gets unlocked. So you have to go through it for like hours and hours to even get Buff Bagwell as a playable character. And I couldn't do it because it's so glitchy that it's almost impossible to unlock you as a character. So yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't even know what you look like as a character in this game because I don't know how many people are able to unlock you because you have to go through like hard mode and it just gets really wonky. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Yep. So we will have the video out though of you playing WCW NWO Revenge, which everybody loves and is widely regarded as one of the best N64 video games.
All right.
But I just pitched you an idea today, and let's throw it out here to everybody to get their opinion on this.
Sure.
And it was a merch idea. So I think most people are familiar with the N64 cartridges. So what I was thinking was we could do, and it would be a cool giveaway item too. We could do cartridges that are just collectibles with Buff Bagwell graphics on them. And then because you have the two slots on the side that's hard plastic, you could sign the sides of it. So you could do Buff on one side, NWO on the other. It would be kind of like the Polaroid that we've talked about in the past, where you had that little spot on the bottom. Everybody in the chat, let us know if you guys think that would be a cool merch offering for Mark to do in the future for signings and appearances and stuff like that. Because I've never seen anything like that done. It's always the 8x10, and it's, sometimes you have different items that get thrown into the mix. But I think that would be a cool one.
So every time I sign one of those, and I haven't signed, but probably, less than 50 in my life, but every time I sign one of those cartridges, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Like to sign that where I sign it and everything.
Yep.
And it seemed like a cool thing to sign. So that's why I thought it was a really good idea.
Yeah, and it's a nice, it wouldn't be an actual game because those games are getting rare. There's not many of them out there in circulation now, but it would be just a cool thing to put on a shelf, a nice souvenir for having met Buff, very similar to that of an 8x10. So guys, let me know what you guys think of that. I think it would be a cool little twist on merchandise and stuff. Scrolling down to the bottom to see. A Funko Pop with a hat. That would be a good one for sure. Yes to the N64 cards. Good. Funko Pop, though, that would be cool. So you don't have a Funko Pop right now, right?
So the WWE owns the rights to Funko Pop.
Okay.
So the only way
they have an exclusive deal.
The only way you're going to see that, and I think you will see it I think you will with Before My Life Is Over. A Legends deal with the WWE, and then hopefully they would, if that happened, then you would have you have a Funko Pop and all the stuff.
Right. So you actually had an action figure, only one, and I think they did two variations. They did a red and they did a black tights one, but you had one action figure, I want to say late 2000s, like maybe 06, 07, 08, somewhere in there. And you weren't under a Legends deal. How did that work out with them? Because that was the only WWF, I think it was WWE at the time. Only time you ever did any sort of figure with them. Zero. So
$0.
that's
I have no idea.
wow.
I remember just being excited that I had an action figure.
Right.
But I have no idea. I never got paid for it. Nothing. I don't know.
That doesn't seem legal. I don't know. Because you own the rights to your name, right? It's not.
I sure do.
You weren't. And is that the thing with WCW and WWE? Because you see guys that leave WWE, WWF, whatever, and they're not able to use their name. But all the WCW guys always were able to use it. Goldberg, Sting, Buff Bagwell, Steiner, who I guess his legal name isn't Steiner. So, but he did start WCW, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know that question. Like I know that I signed with the WWF. I signed with WWF, and I think I was released by the WWF. It wasn't WWE yet.
Right, it's right before.
And guys after me that was released, they had to go under formerly known as blank.
Right.
If you didn't say formerly known as, there would be a lawsuit. And I never had to do that. I mean, I legally owned my name, but so what? That's Vince McMahon and WWF. I mean, they're powerhouse,
Right. It's true. And Scott Steiner. No, Scott Steiner's last name is not Steiner, unless he changed it.
Scott and Rick's last name is Reich Steiner. RECHSTEINER. Their names are Scott and Rick Reich Steiner.
Did you get any money for doing the WCW MasterCard commercial? And I actually just uploaded this to YouTube. I didn't put it out because, of course, it's copyrighted. But you did send me the video of that, so it's cool to see that.
Yeah, it was a great commercial, but no, I didn't get a dime for that.
Wow. So that would be in your WCW contract that you may have to do some of these little things for them along the way.
Yeah.
But why was Jericho able to use his name in AEW? Same with Rob Van Dam. I don't know. They could possibly have rights to that name. Maybe they copy. Well, Jericho went by Jericho in WCW first, so that answers that one. Rob Van Dam was ECW first, so ECW, same as WCW. I would imagine he used it first there, not under the WWE banner. So that would probably be why on both counts.
Yeah, I think so.
Don't take my legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, but I think that's how that works.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me too. And there we go. Yeah, Rick Steiner. You can make custom Funko Pops. My wife made me one for Christmas, I think 2 years ago, but they're not cheap. It wouldn't be, I don't think you could get it to a price where it would be affordable enough to then flip it for resale. I think they're like $30.
Come hand me this. So I had a guy make me, some guy made a Funko Pop for me, and he called it, can't remember the name of it, but there was, I got it right here, and he wanted to make some and sell them and all that. So check it out.
His glasses are off.
My little glasses fell off.
Oh, nice. It looks good though. So that is an official Funko Pop though, right?
No.
Oh, it's not. It looks just like it.
It
says Pop on there.
It don't say Funko.
Gotcha. But it's the same branding and everything. Right. I feel like, and not to give legal advice, but I feel like that could, not for you, but for them, become a problem where, if they see that you're making money, they go after them.
So the guy wanted
it's literally the same pop, font and everything.
Absolutely it is. I mean, my tights, boots.
It looks great.
Really, really, really well done figure.
Yeah.
It's called the Prince of Pop was the company name.
Oh, okay.
He wanted me to invest some money, and he would make 10 of them or something, and it just was like, for what? To make a quick buck, and
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see no point.
Right. Yeah, I would just hold off because I would imagine at some point in time the WWE does come, and maybe that becomes an option to just go with,
And then
Funko themselves.
and just like this new card company that's out, this new card company wants to know if I was any other characters. And if I got pictures of like me as Fabian and pictures as the handsome stranger, then they'll make cards like that. They made like 9 things for Brutus.
Really?
All the gimmicks, even the Kodiak. They named 2 or 3 gimmicks I didn't know he did.
He did Zodiac. He did the Booty Man. He did. Yeah, he had a lot of WCW gave him.
He
a
named
lot
like
of
9 names.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it.
and he did them all.
Wow. I know that they did a Disciple figure for WWE fairly recently. It looked great too, but I don't know that there would be a huge market for like the Zodiac or Booty Man and stuff like that. I don't know. They weren't memorable runs in WCW at all.
Right.
I feel like I know the answer to this one, but Buff, was Sting easy to work with?
He was fantastic. He was really great, and in the ring too. He just was very, what do you want to do, and just very, very giving guy, just very, very, very nice, and just always very easy to work with.
And Chase, did you miss a couple super chats? I might have. Let me see. Let's go over here. I don't want to miss any of those. Thank you for the reminder there. I appreciate that. So they put those into like another category. So I'm constantly jumping over, but I try not to. We always prioritize, obviously, the super chats. Thank you for the reminder there, but we try to get the regular questions in as well. So were there any guys in WCW you wanted to face but never did?
I don't think so. No, there wasn't. Everybody that I thought to, I remember wrestling the Steiner brothers every week, it seemed. And I'd be like, Terry, can we wrestle somebody else? And him showing me the sheet and going, you tell me who. And me going, I guess the Steiners. So it was tough.
Well, I'm going to throw one in. You never wrestled Hulk Hogan.
Wow. There's absolutely.
He pushed you over in a wheelchair, so you have that moment, and that's a memorable moment.
Yes.
I feel like that would have been a good match.
It would have been. It would have been a great match. But no, I've never wrestled Hulk Hogan. Wow.
And we have, ever since WWE and JR's nonsense about how you were released, I always take your side of the story. I'm proud of you and DDP saving you in Riggs.
Good story.
For sure. I think that Mark Bagwell saved himself. I will say that. So obviously, I think Dallas deserves some credit too for helping out. But at the end of the day, I think you make that decision. And I don't mean just you, but people that decide that they want to change their lifestyle, change their ways. I think that's their decision to make that. So I think a lot of credit has to go to you there, more so than Dallas. And I'll say that.
Well said. Very well said. And it's true. Very true. Yeah, definitely I've got to be the one that makes the decision. And thank you for saying that, Chase, for sure. And it was cool that I walked up to, JR was nice of the day when I saw him at WrestleCade, and hopefully he'll give us a call. We'll be able to get something. I'd love to go on and just talk about the whole thing,
I think that's something, and we just did a video talking about the release, and obviously JR is a huge part of that, but that got a lot of attention, more so than I thought. And I don't want to give too much away, but I don't think that JR really understands how much or how many people out there know that story and really want to dive into it and learn more about that too. So the views on that, I think, will kind of speak for themselves, and that's kind of a vote of approval in a lot of ways. So hopefully that helps, but I think that would be a great sit down, and it doesn't have to be here. It doesn't have to, it could be, maybe a joint sort of thing. So we'll see if that comes into fruition, at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
There's a super chat there for $5. I don't know if I want to put that one up. Hammerhead, the bassist here, is alleging that you're his father. I don't know if that's if there's any truth to that one, but might be a early Father's Day reunion there for you. But we'll keep it moving. Truth to Randy Savage purchasing WCW. Lanny confirmed. I've never heard that one. Have you heard that one?
I never have. Macho had his hands in almost everything, but that was one thing I never heard.
Yeah, I never heard that one myself. But I mean, anything's possible in the wrestling world. So could be some maybe they had a discussion somewhere along the lines. You know what I did see recently was Jeff Jarrett had been talking a lot about bringing Randy Savage into TNA. So he just recently did a whole discussion about bringing him in because Macho's last match was in TNA with AJ Styles. And I think there were some other people involved in that match, but a lot of talks about, what went on and why that, was quickly, they quickly threw out that whole deal. So,
really? Why did they throw it out?
I guess there was, I guess there's no clear story because I believe it was mainly Jeff's father that was dealing with Randy. So you're getting Jeff's side of it. And there's a lot of areas he's not 100% clear on, but it sounds to me like Macho came in and now they started talking to Hulk Hogan at that time. And Hogan comes to that match and he's backstage. At the time, they hate each other. Randy didn't want him in the building. And I guess he came to the idea that, they were out to get him and fix something because Hogan was there backstage when he was having his debut with the company. So that kind of threw everything, up in the air and, he ended up exiting. So, and I guess that seems to be kind of on point with him. He seemed to have a very love-hate relationship with Hogan at times.
Right.
Did you ever see any of that backstage at WCW?
I didn't. It was always friends. I was always friends with him and, Hogan, with Macho and Hogan. It was always friendship when I saw, so I never saw that, but, Macho was definitely an intense guy. Even the little bit we had where, over just an interview I cut that was cut with the words of Eric Bischoff typing it out for me, he beat me up for a whole match.
Remember that, yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was a rough one. They were talking about with Jeff Jarrett that Conrad had asked him, do you think there's any possibility that the whole, animosity between Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan all those years off and on was a work the whole time? And he thought no, but there's always that possibility too, that they were just always, kind of keeping themselves relevant or throwing it out there to make some money.
I don't think Randy would be as good enough. It wasn't good enough for that. I don't want to say smart enough, but I almost do. I just really don't think Randy was that. The Randy Savage I met, I'm going to tell you, wasn't smart enough to do that. I don't say smart. Smart enough is not the right word. He wasn't a good enough worker. He was a great wrestler, but to work the world, to be fake to the wrestlers, it just is too much. It's too much work. It's too much effort to put in.
You'd have to be very calculated to pull that off long term. We talked about seeing, the big picture, running the marathon. That would be a tough one to do. And it sounded really like from your personal experience working with Randy, it sounds like he was, I don't know if I want to say emotional, but I'm gonna go with emotional. He took your promo to heart. He took it personal. He thought you were throwing, jabs at him personally, and he made you pay for it in a main event on Thursday Thunder.
Yeah, and I've never seen a situation to where somebody reacts without asking about it. I mean, if you come to me and you say you find out what happened, and then you react to that, okay, I get it. But if he would have done the least bit of research, the least little bit, which is like asking me, he would have found out that that was something he would have been mad at Eric Bischoff about, not me. So instead of making a match he was in look horrible, he could have simply come to me and asked me what was going on, and us have a great match, and then he could go try to beat up Eric Bischoff afterwards.
Right. I mean, and that's who it came. That's who the piece of paper came from that you read, for
Right.
that promo. So, yeah, I guess. So he just took things to heart. So yeah,
So
long term,
emotional
he wouldn't be able to do that.
So emotional is a great word. He was emotional,
Right. Okay. That makes sense. All right, we'll do everybody ask a couple more questions, and we'll do our giveaway here. We've got cards here. Mark, did you write down any questions along the way that you were gravitating towards?
I did. The ones I found that were great was the biggest challenge was one of my favorites for sure.
Okay.
The watch, the challenge, and the McGwire to me were the best questions.
All right. Perfect. I'll try to scroll up here to the top and see if I can find those. So since my screen kind of cut out at me at the 8:20 mark, I don't have that original question pulling up on my end. So I'm gonna have to go over to YouTube and pull it over there.
Well, it was just I can tell you right now the winner. If you want the winner,
let's do it.
To me, the winner is what was my biggest challenge I faced at in wrestling.
All right. And that's for the Pillow Buddy.
Yeah.
So let me go up here and see if I can locate that one. I don't know if it was a super chat or not. Let's see. All right. It'll take me a minute to get to that question, of course, but all right. I'll find it in the meantime. But let's talk about what you're doing this weekend. So you're going to, and I'm going to be with you. We're going to Ohio. Tell me a little bit about that event that we've got out there. And if there's anybody in the Ohio area, this is in Waverly, Ohio. You got to come out. It's an amazing card. They're doing matches. They're doing signings with a bunch of legends. Give me some of that info.
I found out this today, Chase, at that event. So December 14th, this Saturday, at the Waverly Gym, I think Waverly High School, Waverly Gym, we are having I'm not sure what they're calling it, but it's a huge signing. It's like December Blast or Christmas Blast or something, but
December to remember.
December to remember. I mean, Bill Dundee to Buff Bagwell. I mean, it's Riddle, Steiners, Lugers. I mean, it's name it and they're there. It's really an incredible card. It's a big giant signing where everybody's at. And they're having a big super show at 7 p.m. It's 12 to 5 is the signing. And then at 7, there's the wrestling show. And at intermission, Chase, I just got told I'm doing pictures in the ring and we can do our YouTube channel stuff.
In the ring?
Yeah.
Wow. That'll be fun. Excellent. I'm looking forward to that even more now. I'm going to pull up the, I'm going to see if I can pull up the event here. And I'll put a link in the description here, or excuse me, in the live chat for you guys to click over. So if there's anybody in Ohio, definitely check this out. I mean, they got Demolition there. I think Enzo is going to be there too. So a lot of guys going to be popping into this. Let me see if I can find the event. Let's see. Yes, December to remember, Holiday Havoc, and this is Big Time Wrestling. Perfect. Got it right here. The Steiners are going to be there. Jerry the King Lawler is going to be there.
Riddle.
So this will be the 5th time I've seen Riddle in 2 weeks. He's going to think I'm stalking him, I think, because he was in New York when I saw Bischoff too.
That's great.
So we'll do something with Riddle too. He already confirmed that. So looking forward to that. So guys, click that link, and our winner for the Pillow Buddy is Mark Hewitt here. This was the question, right? Right, Mark?
Oh wow. That's you're not going to believe this. This cat, oh my God, Mark Hewitt is not going to believe this. So I didn't even look at the name when I picked that. This is a big fan of mine that his mother, her name is Judy also.
I remember that. Yes. Yes.
He's a real big fan. And I swear to God, I didn't even look at who was doing it. I just looked at the question being a great question that made me really go back to that challenging time of my broken neck. And so it was a great question. And yeah, that is the winner for sure. Mark Hewitt. Wow.
It was a great answer that you had for it too. Great question led to a great answer. Here is the pillow buddy, and we'll do another giveaway with one of these in the future as well. You can see he signed it right down here. We put out a little short video of him actually signing it here on the channel, so you guys can check that out. So I will actually, I think we can get his email pretty easily. So I'll email him, let him know that he won, but I'm sure he's still in here somewhere. Let's pick a couple other winners because I've got a bunch of signed cards here. Each one of these from 92, I believe, that Mark was kind enough to sign for everybody. So let's pick a few more winners. I had one written down on my end here.
Definitely the Watts and the McGwire were the next two big ones.
Okay. So I will reach out to those guys. So if you asked the Bill Watts and the McGwire questions, reach out to me here. You can find our email right here on the channel. It's Marcus Buff Bagwell YT@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram, Chase Brogan Official on Instagram. Just send me a direct message and send me your shipping address. And I've got a couple others. I'll just name some random winners here so we keep it fun and exciting for everybody. And then we'll be back here, I think, right after Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. We'll figure it out and announce it here on the channel, of course. And somebody's saying we have another super chat. Let me find that. Mets rule. Chase, got to get local legends Paul Roma and Mario Mancini on the show. Buff, did you work with Roma?
Oh my God, Roma. I've done everything with Roma. Great guy, love him. Stacy met him last WrestleCade and just loved Paul Roma. Great guy. He was, to me, he was a body guy. So I loved him being a body guy. He always looked fantastic, and he was a super athlete, bro. He was the first guy I ever saw that ran up the turnbuckle, and and he was a body guy, which a lot of body guys wasn't great workers. They had
Sure.
the saying that they didn't believe that the guys with good bodies were good workers, which isn't always true. But he was a real good body guy was a great athlete and could work. And my rookie card is I got a guy in an arm bar, and that guy is Paul Roma.
Wow.
I
think I remember the rookie card actually. I think, and it would have been right around the time that these were out too.
Yeah.
I don't think that you're on. I don't think you were in this version, but I think you were in the next batch of cards that came out right after. But I do remember that.
That's great.
And so this question was for me. So I assume that Paul Roma's in Connecticut then. Wasn't aware of that. I know Mario Mancini is actually, my cousin dated his daughter, ironically enough. But I don't think Mario was in. I think he was just WWF. I don't think he was a WCW guy, if I'm not mistaken there. But that'll be a good one for sure. We'll have to reach out to Roma. All right, last chance for questions. We'll take one more. Hit us up in the live chat here, and then I had one other winner that I wrote down on my end, and that was for Lisa Cod. What advice for younger generation of guys getting in the business? So
great question.
Lisa Cod, reach out to me, either Instagram or right here on the channel, Marcus Buff Bagwell YT@gmail.com, and we'll get your address and ship you a pack of cards. Talk to him at Edge Gym in Derby. Okay. All right. So he's not far at all. It's right around New Haven area. All right. Buff, what did you think of a video WWE put on their YouTube channel? The WCW ruins everything, posted in 2011. I'm not familiar with that post. I don't know that, or that video ruins everything. I would imagine he wouldn't like that video, but I haven't seen it myself. Have you seen that?
What does that mean, Chase? What are they saying?
What'd you think of the video WWE put on their YouTube? So I guess they put out a video on their YouTube channel called WCW Ruins Everything. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, let's check that out.
If I could find it, we'll watch it and we'll talk about it next time we're on.
Absolutely.
Doesn't sound very nice though.
No, it don't.
And we'll take one more. Let's see. We'll try to pick a good one for you. This is a quick one. Do you trust Sting's cookies?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not ever again.
Well, we'll leave it on that one. That was a good question too.
Yes.
AJ's for the Sting cookie question. We got cards for you.
Yes.
Hit me up through the email or on my Instagram, Chase Brogan Official. That's going to do it for today, guys. Wish you all a happy holiday season. We should be back. I think the way that it falls is 2 weeks is the 26th, right after Christmas. Maybe we'll end up taking that one off. Maybe we'll come back in the new year. So we'll announce it here on the channel, of course, but we'll talk about it, see what the holiday plan is for everybody and take it from there. But we'll probably see you guys in the new year. We're looking forward to it. Stay tuned. We've got a lot of videos coming out. We've got interviews with Enzo Amore. We've got interviews with Scotty Riggs, Boogeyman, lots of great stuff coming out. So stay tuned here on the channel as always, guys. Thank you all.
And have a great, man, have a Merry Christmas. Have a great New Year. And we will get you guys the next time. It'll be 2025.
It's crazy. Time's flying. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
See you guys. Have fun.